Welcome to The Inside Story. I'm Billy Hallowell, and today I'm joined by Leonardo Blair from the Christian Post. How you doing?
I'm good, Billy. Thanks for having me again.
Well, thanks for coming on. We are going to get into a very interesting topic, the church and technology, particularly new technologies like artificial intelligence that are really sort of breaking out, dominating the market right now, and how Christians are responding to that. Let's just start with a general question, and I'm very intrigued to hear what you have to say here, but how fast, in your view, have churches and Christian organizations been to adopt new technologies like AI as they've come out?
Oh, the church in general, the faith community in general, has been pretty slow to adopt to new technologies. And, when you talk about, for instance, the internet and what happened with that, it wasn't until COVID happened that a lot of churches started to develop even a social media presence or started live streaming. So we kind of saw that happen, and now they're trying to, since COVID, they've been trying to play catch up.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there are probably reasons for skepticism, of new technology, I would imagine, within the church. Obviously, churches see their mission as reaching people for the gospel, and I think it's easy to overlook the fact that technology can actually assist in that, right? And many churches realize that, many Christian organizations do. But what do you think it is that holds some churches in particular back in this arena from diving into the technology?
Yeah, I think you just touched on it. Churches are particularly, a lot of them tend to be particularly conservative in terms of ideology. And so there usually is a mistrust of the things that are new. People sometimes worry about losing their autonomy. Churches worry about things like religious freedom. And as I mentioned, one of the things that the churches are really trying to figure out now, and there are companies that we're going to talk about like Gloo, who are really trying to work with churches to not make the same mistake that they made with consumer social internet platforms. They initially thought that it wasn't going to be a positive for society, so that sort of hesitance was something that was reflected among churches.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I want to get into some of these groups that you just mentioned. In fact, let's do that now. I mean, what is Glue? For those who don't know, what is Glue, and how is this particular organization specifically serving churches and Christian organizations in this arena?
Sure. So Glue is a leading technology platform that connects the faith ecosystem. And when you talk about the faith ecosystem, you're talking about, in the US alone, the faith ecosystem, it consists of approximately 450,000 churches, faith networks, nonprofits. Um, Glue currently serves more than 100,000 churches and organizations, along with about 1,000 resource partners, and they serve them by connecting ministry leaders and nonprofits to values-based AI insights, funding, and other resources.
Yeah, that's, I mean, much needed and very interesting in this era, right? I mean, having an organization sort of come in and help churches and Christian organizations think deeper about all of this. Let's sort of get a little specific here on AI, artificial intelligence in general, and I guess more specifically when it comes to churches and Christian organizations. How are churches and Christian organizations responding to AI? Because I know that's something that Glue is dealing with.
There is, I spoke to, Pat Gelsinger, who is chairman at Gloo, and he's taken on a new role, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But Glue is really, really working to unify uh, churches to get them to become a force for good in AI. AI is a neutral technology, and they want churches to take advantage of this technology by being by helping to shape it so that the churches will have a presence. You can inform AI with Christian values.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right? Because the panic over AI among some is how is this going to be used for evil? And I think those are legitimate questions to ask because AI is already being used for evil and will be. But then you have to ask the question, well, how can AI be used for good? I mean, you think about translating the Bible. This is something that we know is a major undertaking for eons and trying to get the Bible into every language. How can AI help with that sort of thing? So how should, in your view, based on the coverage you've done, not just on this story with Glue, but in general, how should churches be reacting to artificial intelligence?
I think churches need to do the research, first of all, uh, mainly because of the trust issues that are involved, and try to lean in, because as they say, AI is a neutral technology. It's basically what you put in. That's what you'll get out of it, right? So yeah, I think churches should do the research and try to adapt and adopt as much as they can.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think that makes an awful lot of sense for churches to be doing. And I want to come back to Pat, who you just mentioned. He has a new role, an expanded role with Glue. Can you talk a little bit about that because I mean, he's a veteran in this area of tech.
Yeah, Pat is the former CEO of Intel, and he recently um, expanded his role at Glue from investor and chairman to executive chairman and head of technology at Glue. And one of the things that he uh, will be spearheading at Glue is he'll be, focused on building the world's first vertical cloud, industry cloud for faith and flourishing, overseeing Glue AI, which is focused on advancing values AI. And it's one thing that when I spoke to Mr. Gelsinger, I asked about, for example, when I think about values based AI, the first thing that sort of popped into my mind was, I don't know if you saw this story a while back. There's this AI Jesus that was developed at Switzerland's Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts, and it was tested out at a church last year. It seemed interesting, but a lot of people, sort of saw an AI Jesus as a bit idolatrous, because technology was appeared to be like God in some way. And I think when we talked about the hesitancy uh, uh, among church leaders, there is this tension between religion and technology because, you know, people are, some people are legitimately concerned that the AI, will sort of replace God in a way. So, and that's a discussion that we have seen I don't know if you saw this show that was on HBO. It's called Raised by Wolves, where there was the atheists who were pretty technocratic and believed in science, but they faced off against a group called the Mithrakes, who follow religion that's based on ancient scriptures and believe their technology is a gift from Sol, their god. So it's all about perspective. And as I said, we need to do churches need to do their research and try to lean in as carefully as they can when dealing with technology.
Yeah, I think the other end of this too is, who's controlling the technology, and I think that's something people have to, when you talk about that replacement of God fear. Well, who's controlling the technology? Because whoever's controlling it hypothetically has control over the narrative and what that technology is telling us, right? And what that technology is saying and what AI is perpetuating. And so these are all important questions for people inside and outside of the church, but in particular, when it comes to truth, those inside need to weigh. And I'm sure these are things Gloo is thinking about. Just as we sort of round out to the end here, what do you think the future of Gloo is? Because they're really in an interesting position right now.
Yeah, I think Glue is in a very strong position to lead the conversation and give direction to churches about how best to take advantage of the technology. And they serve, like I said earlier, about 100,000 churches and organizations already. The faith ecosystem is quite large, it's quite diverse, and I think the technology, the platform that they have, is in a very good position to do what they believe they can do now, which is to unify the various arms of the faith ecosystem to become a force for good.
I love that. Well, we will be talking more about this issue without a doubt. Appreciate you taking the time today. And everybody who is listening, you can tune in next week for another episode of The Inside Story. Thanks again, Leo.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Billy.